especially being desi, we're taught like our parents are God. And now being a parent, I understand that. And that's not to insult my parents. My parents, or every parent, does absolutely the best that they can, as I would for my daughter. But, what makes us God? We're here 20, 30 years before our children. Looking back at almost a year ago then, when you first started, how would you say that your life, your perspective, or your awareness has changed?
The awareness part is huge, because when you go back to process the feelings and then process the pain, you have to zoom out, because for example, let's say somebody hurt you in the past. All you can tell in the moment is, oh, they hurt me. But when you zoom out and you look at the macro, you have to understand that person also has pain, and the reason that maybe they inflicted pain to you was because other pain was inflicted upon them. So it's a chain reaction. So when you zoom out, you really understand that people make mistakes.
Yeah.
And that makes you kind of aware, and you can accept that, and then you can forgive. And then you need to have conversations on, I understand that this happened, I'm trying to understand why it happened. But at the end of the day, they have a lot more going on in their mind that is influencing how they believe and how they act on an everyday basis.
As we did too, right?
Right.
You do the best that you can with where you're at and the information and the knowledge that you have, which is why it's so important to constantly do the work and keep getting better mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. And for me, I'm always like, and of course in balance, but I think it's like, for me, the biggest lesson was nobody maliciously is doing anything. They're doing the best that they can given the circumstances that they could. And sometimes you're in that crossfire, you're in like a repercussion of whatever happened. But when you're able to come out of that macro and look at everything as a broader picture, it's like, okay, like this is who you are. This is what you've gone through in your life. And this is why you did the things that you did. This is how that action affected me. And it wasn't intentional. And now I can see that. But that doesn't take away with how I felt and how your actions made me feel. So let's talk about that. And once there's an apology and acceptance, or maybe there's not always an apology, there's an acceptance, you can see the other person as a human being on their own journey, and you can detach from that suffering and then just accept that this is what it is, and then eventually start to move into forgiveness. And I think a lot of that comes from expectation, especially with family members and close relationships, because you have these expectations of this is what you should have been like. But, I tell people this often. It's like, most of childhood trauma comes from parents and family members. And I think, especially being desi, we're taught like our parents are God. And now being a parent, I understand that. And that's not to insult my parents. My parents, or every parent, does absolutely the best that they can, as I would for my daughter. But, what makes us God? We're here 20, 30 years before our children, and we're doing the best that we can given the circumstances and experiences that we have. And then you can kind of release some of that expectation of like, this is what I needed and you didn't give it to me. So then moving into, how has forgiveness and acceptance changed in your life with your other relationships, and then what your expectations of others are?
It's made me a lot less anxious as a whole. Again, there's still work to be done, but it's made me live in the moment a little bit more and enjoy what I have and not be worried about what I could have had or what I should have had.
Yeah.
So it's the expectation part that you also nailed. You can't have expectations. You just have to be free.
Yeah.
Do the best with the tools that you were provided and the circumstances that you are in. So it certainly takes a weight off and allows me to breathe a lot easier.
Yeah, I remember the conversation that we had after you went in for your first scans, after your surgery, after I guess it was a certain period of time to see if the tumor had come back. And I had gotten a message, and some people call it spirit, some people call it God. To me, it's universal consciousness, that we're all tapped in and connected to this one greater source of oneness. And through that, there's truth. And that's where the messages, or how I can feel people, comes through, because it's all in one internet up there. And so I had already known and felt that it was gone and not had come back, you know, with a vengeance. But of course, there was some fear and anxiety around that.
So before I went into the scan, the doctors kept saying, you know, this could come back at any time. And while that still rings true, the first scan was also the scariest. The one right after you go through that experience, the one where you're not feeling well as is, and there's a chance that you might get even worse news. After the scan finished, they were very happy to tell me that nothing had come back, and of course there was still irritation from the actual surgical site.
Yeah.
There was nothing from the matter that they had removed that's growing again. And to this day, there's still nothing growing again, and it feels really good. But I had called you to tell you right after it finished. And I called you before I called my parents, because I really wanted you to know first.
Yeah. And that meant so much. And it was so amazing because you deserve so much. And I think there was, you know, I wanted to ask you, how has your relationship with yourself changed since then? But I think one big thing is like you feeling like you're so deserving now, and living in the moment. Like how have your expectations for yourself and your relationship with yourself has changed?
Well, for years, I felt that I didn't deserve love because I had some very traumatic experiences when it comes to love. And after you opened up the
Pandora's box.
Pandora's box, yeah, it's the best
Well,
way
it's
to
not
put it.
me, but yeah.
Sorry. After I first deserved that, well, recognized that I deserved help, the second step, which I didn't think I would get to so soon, was realizing that I deserved love.
Yeah.
Opening that box, however, has led me down a fantastic journey, and I was able to find the love that I still don't think I deserve, but I'm certainly enjoying
relishing in it.
And I love it, and it feels pure, and it feels like nothing I've actually felt before.
Yeah.
And good things come in time.
Yeah, and I think in part of that, especially in our relationships, is because you're able to be your most authentic self, right? Like only when you're really willing to deal with everything within you, is when you can give somebody your mind, body, and soul, and make that perfect relationship. But when you're hiding and not dealing, like those things come up in your arguments, in how you are with each other, and what your expectations are with each other, and so. I think that's where like the numbing comes in, and whether that's through drugs, alcohol, sex, whatever, of just, you know, the box tries to open itself up and be like, hey, I'm here, like let's deal with this. In our culture, it's very normal to just shut it down and be like, no, like we don't have to go there. But, you know, to do the work and be like, okay, this is what it is, and these are the areas that it's affecting, and then to continue to work on that as it presents itself into other areas of your life, I think is so commendable, because it can be really difficult.
Because for years I went into and enjoyed a lot of self-destructive behavior when it comes to partying or the use of illicit drugs and things like that, to be quite honest with you. I definitely did a lot of things that I'm not proud of doing, but in the moment that feels great. Referring back to the box that we were speaking about, you close the box, you put it away. When those boxes start to open up, you distract yourself and you try to shove the box back down by doing any number of those things.
Yeah, and some people that's eating, some people that's, you know, not talking to people, television, I mean, anything to numb yourself. I think any kind of numbing, that's key one, to start to look at getting some sort of help in whatever way that is, whether that's therapy, whatever, you know, to start opening those boxes.
Right, because there are even some things that you can do that may not be quote unquote bad, but the reason why you're doing them is bad. Like you shouldn't be doing A because you want to like just numb something down and forget about it. You could do it to enjoy it, but again, it's the mindset
Balance.
and the balance that comes with it.
Yeah, and I think that all comes back to awareness too, right? Of just bringing awareness to every part of your life. Like, why am I doing the things that I'm doing? Why am I saying the things that I'm saying? Why am I with the people that I'm with? How do I make people feel around me? Which is so amazing. And I think your journey's been so amazing. I am always in awe of that experience, because it showed me so much, and I never experienced anything like that. And it really helped me understand the way that I understood sessions and experienced it through people. So I thank you so much for letting me be a part of your journey. And all of these people, I think that we really need to make mental health and being the best versions of ourselves normal, and talking about these things, because we all are going through something.
I'm happy the energy has led me to you. I'm sure that you will continue to impact a lot more people as time goes on. And I appreciate you helping me and everything. I can't. I don't even know where to go.
No,
with
I mean,
this.
you did all the work, and that's the thing, right? And that's why I say it's not me, because it's not, and we'll talk about that in a different video. But ultimately, you have to do the work, and it's so great that you did. All right, guys. I'm so glad you stuck through it if you did. And if you want to ask any questions, or, I want people to feel open about it. Ask about Reiki, ask about healing, ask for help. If there's something about Roshan's journey that you relate to, that you'd want to talk to him directly, you can message me or email me, DM me, whatever platform we're on. And I will forward it to him as well. And I'm sure he'll be willing to spread the help and the love. Bye.